In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. On the beleaguered hive world of Veus Magna, the Imperial Guard fights a losing battle. The green tide of an orc-wog crashes against their lines, a relentless, brutal wave of violence. Just as the last bastion of hope is about to crumble under the might of the orc warboss, something impossible happens. A flash of light, a streak across the smoke-choked sky, and a figure lands amidst the carnage, clad in a ridiculous yellow jumpsuit and a white cape. He looks around, utterly bewildered. This isn't easy. The air is thick with the stench of promethium and death. Before him stands the warboss, a mountain of muscle, scrap metal, and pure rage. It lets out a deafening roar, a challenge that has broken countless Imperial heroes. The man, Saitama, just blinks. The orc charges, its massive power claw ready to crush this strange, bald human into paste. The guardsmen watch in horror, another life about to be extinguished. But then, it happens. A single, almost casual punch, not a thunderous impact, not a glorious, explosive strike, just a punch. The warboss, the terror of Veus Magna, simply disintegrates. One moment, a gargantuan engine of destruction. The next, a shower of green mist and shrapnel. Silence falls over the battlefield, broken only by the crackling of fires. The orcs, for the first time, hesitate. Their simple, brutal minds cannot process what they just saw. Their biggest, baddest boss, gone in an instant. To the battle-hardened soldiers of the Astra Militarum, it's a miracle, a divine intervention from the God Emperor himself. Whispers spread like wildfire through the trenches. The bald god has come. He fell from the sky. He killed the beast with one punch. They see a savior, a living saint sent to deliver them from the Xenos filth. Their morale, once shattered, now soars to heights unseen. They see OP, embodied in this inexplicably powerful, plain-looking man. But the Imperium has many eyes, far from the front lines, in shadowed halls and data vaults. Others witness this event. To the Adeptus Mechanicus, Saitama is a biological and physical impossibility. His power output defies every known law of physics. They must study him, dissect him, understand the holy machine that is his body. How can flesh and bone generate such force? Is he the next step in human evolution, a gift from the Omniscient, or a terrible perversion of its sacred designs? And then there are the darkest eyes of all, the holy ordos of the Inquisition. Where others see a miracle, they see heresy. Unsanctioned power is the most dangerous threat to the Imperium, a psyker of unimaginable strength, a demon in human form, a genetic aberration created by Xenos trickery. The possibilities are endless, and all of them are terrifying. An anomaly like Saitama cannot be allowed to exist. He is a disruption to the order of the galaxy, a challenge to the iron-fisted rule of the High Lords of Terra. Lord Inquisitor Vali, a man whose soul is as cold as the void between stars, watches the picked capture on a loop. This bald god is a puzzle he must solve, and a threat he must neutralize. He dispatches his most ruthless agents, the elite stormtroopers of the Ordo Hereticus, with a single chilling order: capture the anomaly. If capture is not possible, purge it with extreme prejudice. No matter the cost, the truth must be uncovered, and the heresy excised. Saitama, meanwhile, is just confused. He was looking for a good sale on groceries, and now he's on a planet filled with angry green mushrooms, guys in fancy armor, and a lot of shouting in a language he doesn't understand. He just wants to find his way home. But in the 41st millennium, there is no easy way home. He is a pawn in a galactic game he doesn't comprehend, caught between the blind faith of desperate soldiers and the cold, deadly suspicion of the most powerful organization in the galaxy. The surviving orcs. Their wog, energy faltering without a leader, begin to scatter. But they are a stubborn and resilient race. The story of the bold Umi who punched their boss to bits becomes a legend, a new kind of challenge. The biggest and strongest orc knobs now seek him out, not just for revenge, but for the ultimate fight. To defeat the one who defeated the strongest would be the highest honor. Saitama, who has long yearned for a worthy opponent, might just find the galaxy's most persistent and numerous challengers in the form of the orcs. As the Imperial Guard tries to hail him as a hero, offering him honors he doesn't understand, the Inquisition's ships descend from orbit. Saitama's simple life of boredom is over. He has fallen into a universe defined by eternal war. A universe that will test his apathy and his power in ways he never imagined. He may be the strongest being in his own world, but can one punch solve the endless, soul-crushing problems of Warhammer 40,000? Or will he finally find the one thing he has been searching for? A battle that lasts more than a single blow. The saga of the One Punch Man in the grim-dark future has only just begun. What do you think will happen next? How would the Chaos Gods react to a being of such pure, simple power? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into a wild crossover, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more lore explorations, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Welcome back to the channel, lore masters and fellow hobbyists. Today, we re-diving deep into a crossover scenario that has been rattling around my brain for weeks. What if the hero for fun, Saitama, found himself in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium? Specifically, what if he came face to face with the Emperor's most zealous and paranoid agency, Inquisition? So, picture this. Somewhere in the cold, unforgiving void of space, aboard a black ship designated for the interrogation of heretics, and Xenos, sits a man in a very bright, very yellow jumpsuit. Across from him, a figure cloaked in shadows and the sigils of the Ordo Hereticus. Inquisitor Albrecht studies, the subject with a mixture of disbelief and suspicion. The room is sterile, designed to intimidate, filled with Medicae servitors and interrogation tools that could make a space marine shudder. Yet, the man, Saitama, just looks bored. Halbrick's data slate is a mess of contradictions. The subject, designated Caped Baldy by the Astra Militarum unit that somehow detained him, had single-handedly obliterated a Tyranid splinter fleet, not with a cyclonic torpedo or a lance strike, but with his bare hands. The reports were ludicrous. He punched a hive tyrant, and it simply ceased to exist. He swatted at a swarm of hormagaunts, and the resulting shockwave liquefied the entire brood. No lost fire, no bolt gun shells, just raw, physical force beyond any scale the Imperium had ever recorded. No mortal may wield such power. Albrecht mutters his voice a low growl, amplified by a vox grill. He circles the table, his servo skull hovering silently beside him, its optical lenses glowing red. Therefore, you cannot be mortal. So, what are you? A demon prince hiding its warp signature. A Xenos entity of some unknown protean species. A weapon forged in the dark age of technology. Saitama just scratches his perfectly bald head. I'm just a guy who's a hero for fun. You guys sure are intense? Is there a sale on at the local market? I was hoping to get some cabbage before it's all gone. Halbrick slams his augmented fist on the adamantium table, the sound echoing like a thunderclap. The servitors in the room were their manipulators, twitching. Do not mock the Emperor's Holy Inquisition. Your power is an anomaly, a stain upon the fabric of reality that must be understood and, if necessary, purged. You show no signs of mutation, no bionic augmentation beyond the most rudimentary scans. And most perplexing of all, you have no presence in the warp. It is not that you are an untouchable, a blank. It is as if you are simply not there, a void where a soul should be. This was the core of Halbrick's frustration. Every living thing with a soul, even the most primitive plant life, cast a shadow in the Imperium. This man cast nothing. It was a paradox that defied every law of metaphysics. The Imperium held sacred. He was a hole in the universe. Yet he stood ora des trite. In front of them, radiating an aura of sheer, unbelievable power. Okay, look, Saitama says with a sigh. I get it. You're confused. A lot of people are. I did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run. Every single day. That's it. That's my secret. A vein throbs on Halbrick's temple. The simplicity of the answer is a greater insult than any heresy. It's so absurd, so nonsensical. It could only be a lie designed to mask a terrifying truth. He had seen worlds burn and gods fall, but he had never encountered such a baffling creature. Enough of this mockery, Albrecht commands. He gestures to a shadowy corner of the chamber. From it, a figure in the robes of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica shuffles forward, chains rattling faintly. This is a sanctioned psyker, a living conduit to the warp. His eyes milky white, and his body scarred by the energies he channels. His purpose is to peel back the layers of a mind and expose the truth within. Psyker Halbrick to orders, his voice dripping with authority. Tear open his mind. Find the source of his power. Show me the lies he is hiding. I want to know everything, from his first thought to his last. The psyker bows his head, trembling slightly, not from fear of Saitama, but from the raw power he is about to unleash. He raises a trembling hand, his fingers crackling with ethereal light. The air in the room grows cold, and the low hum of the ship's system seems to warp and distort. A faint, violet glow begins to emanate from the Psycho-S eyes as he reaches out with his immaterial senses, preparing to breach the mental defenses of the subject. Saitama, for his part, just watches, with mild curiosity. Oh, are you gonna do a magic trick? Cool. The psyker's mental probe, a spear of pure psychic energy honed over decades of service, lances out. It is a force that has broken the wills of Chaos Lords and extracted confessions from the most stubborn of heretics. It strikes Saitama's consciousness and finds nothing. It's not a wall. It's not a Geller field. It's not a void. It's a grocery list. A half-remembered coupon for discount udon noodles. A mild annoyance about missing the season finale of a TV show. The profound, earth-shattering question of whether to have hot pot or ramen for dinner. It's a notion of absolute, unfiltered, mundane simplicity. The psycher's mind, accustomed to the raging tempests of thoughts, emotions, and secrets that constitute a soul, is met with a placid lake of nothing important. There are no dark secrets, no pacts with demons, no complex schematics for alien technology. There is only the thought, man, I hope I can make it home in time for the big sale. The cognitive dissonance is instantaneous and catastrophic. The psycher's brain, a finely tuned instrument for navigating the treacherous currents of the warp, is suddenly subjected to the psychic equivalent of dividing by zero. He is trying to comprehend the existence of a being with godlike power, whose primary motivation is bargain hunting. His eyes snap wide open. The violet light flares violently. Then, a trickle of blood runs from his nose. 10, he sears. 10, he says. He lets out a single, sharp gasp, not of pain, but of sheer, terminal confusion. His mind, stretched between the concept of infinite power and the reality of utter banality, simply snaps. The psyche collapses, his connection to the warp severed, his brain activity flatlining. The Medicae servitors scan him and declare him deceased. Cause of death: total psychic overload from exposure to overwhelming simplicity. Silence descends upon the interrogation chamber. The servitors were uselessly over the dead psyker. Albrecht stares, his jaw agape beneath his rebuff. He had seen psychers perish in psychic duels, consumed by demons, or burn out from overexertion. He had never, ever seen one die from sheer bafflement. Saitama blinks. Whoa, is he okay? He just fell over. Maybe he's tired. This place does seem pretty stressful. Halbrick slowly turns his gaze back to Saitama. The fear he felt before was for an unknown enemy. This was something new. This was terror in the face of the incomprehensible. This man, this thing, had not fought back. He had not resisted. His very nature, his mundane, simple mind, was a weapon more potent than any blade or psychic assault. How do you fight an enemy whose greatest defense is that he is just too simple to be understood by the esoteric laws of your universe? The Inquisitor takes a step back. The servo skull bumps into him, its red eyes swiveling between the corpse and the board-licking man in the chair. For the first time in his long, bloody career, Inquisitor Halbrick felt a sensation he had only ever inspired in others. True, soul-crushing dread. The question was no longer, what are you? It was, what in the God Emperor's name do we do with you? And that, my friends, is where we'll leave it for today. The idea of Saitama. Simple Mind being a weapon against the grimdark complexity of 40,000 is just too good not to explore. What do you think would happen next? Would they declare him a living saint? Try to shoot him into the sun? Let me know your wild theories down in the comments. The Siege of Veus Magna. A name that would echo through the Segmentum Pacificum, not as a testament to imperial valor, but as the moment an entire world's faith was shattered and the planet, a vital forge world, groaned under the green tide of an orc-wog. So massive, it blotted out the stars. Billions had already perished. The capital, Veus Magna, was the last bastion of humanity, its walls crumbling under the relentless, brutal assault of greenskin war machines. For months, the Astra Militarum, the brave men and women of the Imperial Guard, had fought and died in the mud and blood. The Cadian 88th, the Mordian Iron Guard, the Valhallan Ice Warriors regiments from a dozen worlds bled together, their morale ground down to a desperate, stubborn refusal to yield. Priests of the ecclesiarchy chanted litanies to the God Emperor, their words drowned out by the roar of orc guns and the screams of the dying. The air was thick with smoke, cordite, and the stench of alien flesh. Hope was a currency scarcer than ammunition. The planetary governor had sent desperate astropathic pleas, begging for reinforcement, for a miracle. What he got was something else entirely. He was a single man, clad in a ridiculous yellow jumpsuit with a white cape and red gloves. He appeared with no fanfare, no grand arrival of a battle fleet, no thunderous drop-pod assault. One moment, the command bunker's holomap was a sea of red icons swarming the last green bastions. The next, a single, unidentified yellow marker appeared in the heart of the orc lines. They called him Saitama. No one knew where he came from. He wasn't a space marine, his form lacking the telltale bulk of transhuman muscle. He wasn't a sanctioned psych. The librarians felt no warp signature. He wasn't a living saint. The Sisters of Battle felt no holy aura. He was just there. And then, the carnage began. On the front lines, Godsman Gurton of the Cadian 88th was preparing to meet his end. His lasgan was nearly out of charge, his flak armor cracked, and the orc boys were pouring over the barricades. He raised his weapon for one last defiant shot, whispering a prayer to the Emperor. That's when he saw it. A yellow and red blur, an orc knob, twice the size of a man, swung its massive chopper down on Gurton's position. Before the crude blade could connect, the blur intercepted it. There was a sound, not of impact, but of something simply ceasing to exist. The orc knob exploded into a fine green mist. The blur, now resolving into the form of the bald man, didn't even seem to notice. He just looked bored. What followed was not a battle. It was an extermination. The Imperial forces could only watch in stunned silence. Entire mobs of orcs charged him, a green avalanche of muscle and fury. He met them with a single punch. The shockwave from the blow didn't just obliterate the front rank. It liquefied everything in a 100-meter cone behind them. Stompas, those walking effigies of orc destruction, were swatted from the sky like insects. A Gargant, a machine god of the orcs, that had shrugged off days of non-stop lemon rust cannon fire, took one hit to its leg, and simply folded. It crumpled into a heap of scrap metal so completely that it looked like it had been run through a recycling plant. The warboss, Gastraka, Mag Uruk, Thrakas, less famous, but equally brutal cousin, emerged from his command squig, bellowing a challenge. He was a mountain of green rage and cybernetics. Saitama looked at him, then at his own fist, then back at the war boss, with an expression of profound ennui. The challenge was met with another casual punch. The war boss. His swag, and a significant portion of the surrounding landscape vanished. There was a moment of absolute silence, broken only by the wind whistling through the new, perfectly circular crater where the Orc command had been. The entire siege, a conflict that had consumed the lives of billions and was projected to last for years, was over in less than 10 minutes. The remaining Orcs, their brutal but simple psyche completely broken by the incomprehensible display of power, simply fled. They ran from the bold man in yellow as if he were Gork and Mork themselves, come to punish them. And in the aftermath, a new conflict was born within the hearts of the survivors. Down on the blood-soaked fields of Vaeus Magna, Guardsman Gerton dropped his useless lasgun. Tears streamed down his face, carving clean paths through the grime and soot. He fell to his knees, his voice cracking as he began to chant, not the litanies he had been taught, but a new one. The Emperor walks among us. He has returned. He was not alone. Thousands of soldiers, men and women who had seen nothing but death and despair, witnessed this impossible salvation. To them, this was not a man. This was a divine instrument, an avatar of the master of mankind, clad not in gold, but in humble yellow, a sign of his humility and infinite power. They saw the Emperor reborn, a figure of myth made flesh, who had single-handedly smote the Xenos filth from his world. Faith, pure and fanatical, erupted like a wildfire. But for every soldier who fell to their knees in worship, another looked on with cold, stark terror. Komisa Hole, a man whose faith in the Imperial creed was as unyielding as his bolt pistol, felt a chill that had nothing to do with the evening air. This was not the Emperor. The Emperor was a glorious, radiant being. This was a mockery, a being of such impossible power, appearing from nowhere, acting with no zeal, no righteous fury, only a bland indifference. It was unnatural. It stank of the ruinous powers. Was this a trick of Tzinka? A scheme so convoluted that its purpose was beyond mortal ken? Was it a champion of Khorne, whose martial prowess was so absolute it transcended rage? Or perhaps Slanesh, a display of such perfect, effortless power that it was its own form of obscene excess? The Commissar's mind raced through every blasphemous possibility. This Saitama was a test, a temptation, a joke played by laughing gods on the brink of a dying empire. He raised his bolt pistol, his hand trembling. An enemy you can fight is one thing. An enemy you might be tempted to worship, that was a threat to the soul of the Imperium itself. And so, on the saved world of Vaeus Magna, humanity was fractured. One man had saved a world and, in doing so, had broken its theology. The populace was divided into two emergent factions. The who saw a god, and the loyalists, who saw a devil in a hero's cape. The ecclesiarchy was in schism. The guard was in turmoil, and the Inquisition, hearing the whispers on the warp, was already dispatching its black ships. The war for Vaeus Magna was over, but the war for its soul, and perhaps the soul of the Imperium itself, had just begun. This one bold man didn't just end a wog. He had become a new, terrifying question in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. Thank you so much for watching. This was just a taste of what happens when two incredible universes collide. What do you think would happen next? Would the Imperium declare Saitama a living saint or an enemy of mankind? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the vast, dark expanse of Warhammer 40k. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving back into our mind-bending crossover saga. What if the One Punch Man found himself in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium? We've seen him navigate the brutal politics of the Imperium and casually dismantled threats that would make a space marine tremble. But what happens when the very fabric of reality, the chaotic and malevolent warp, decides to take a closer look? Get ready, because today, the changer of ways himself, Tzin, sends one of his most powerful servants to investigate the anomaly named Saitama. Picture this. The skies above the hive city of Eis Magna, a sprawling metropolis teeming with billions of souls. 4 days. A strange quiet has settled over the planet. The usual background noise of the warp, the whispers, the temptations, the psychic screams that plague every psyker and echo in the dreams of the sensitive has fallen silent. It's an unnerving peace, a void where there should be a storm. This tranquility is a direct result of Saitama's presence. His very being, so mundane yet so impossibly powerful, acts as a null field. A zone of absolute, boring reality that the Empyrean simply cannot comprehend or penetrate. For the forces of chaos, this is more than just an anomaly. It's an existential threat, and no one is more intrigued or more infuriated by a puzzle he cannot solve than Tzinch, the architect of fate. In his crystalline labyrinth, surrounded by 1,000,000 futures and 1,000,000,000 lies, the great sorcerer observes this bold man. This creature whose power doesn't come from the warp, from faith, from technology, or from any source he eat. Just is. This statistical impossibility, this walking paradox, must be understood. And so, Tzinch plucks a thread of fate. He whispers a word of power, and from the roiling sea of souls, he summons a champion. Not just any demon, but a lord of change, a greater demon of Tzinch. Imagine a creature of pure magic, a kaleidoscopic bird-like being with wings of shifting colors, feathers that are actually screaming faces, and eyes that see every possibility, past, present, and future. It carries a staff crackling with raw sorcery, and its very presence warps reality, turning steel to glass and flesh to shrieking goo. Its name is Cairo's Fate Weaver, or perhaps one of his countless, equally terrifying brethren. Let's call him the Viewer of Tangled Paths. The Viewer manifests not with a crash of thunder, but wit in the fabric of the sky. The clouds part, not to reveal stars, but to show the swirling, nauseating colors of the warp. The air grows thick with the smell of ozone and burnt sugar. Panic erupts in Eis Magna. Imperial Guard batteries open fire, their shells turning into flocks of paper birds. Astropaths scream as their minds are flooded with every lie ever told. This isn't an invasion. It's a scientific inquiry. The Lord of Change has one mission: to observe, dissect, and comprehend the power of Saitama. It wants to know why the warp is so quiet around him. Down below, Saitama is oblivious. He's probably just finished his grocery shopping, maybe wondering if there's a sale on space cabbage. All he knows is that it's been nice and quiet lately. He can finally think without that annoying buzzing in his head he couldn't quite place. Suddenly, the sky goes weird. A giant, colorful bird thing is floating up there, and it's loud. Not just sound loud, but the existence elude. It's like 1,000,000 televisions all on a different static channel, right inside his brain. The Lord of Change focuses its myriad eyes on the insignificant-looking man in the yellow jumpsuit. It unleashes a fraction of its power, a bolt of pure mutating energy designed to unravel a target's genetic code and personal history simultaneously. It expects to see a story, a source, a pact, a secret. Instead, the bolt hits Saitama and ... fizzles. It's like throwing a lit match into the ocean. There's nothing to burn, nothing to corrupt. Confused, the demon tries again. This time, it attempts to peer into his soul, to read his fate. But as it gazes, it finds ... nothing. A void. Not a dark, evil void, but a simple, uncomplicated, boring void. There are no grand destinies, no secret shames, no powerful ambitions. There's just a guy who's a hero for fun, for a being like a Lord of Change, whose entire existence is woven from complexity, secrets, and ambition. This is the most terrifying thing it has ever encountered. It's like a supercomputer trying to divide by zero. The demon screeches in frustration, its voice a cacophony of 1,000 different languages spoken backward. The noise is giving Saitama a headache. He was enjoying the peace and quiet. This thing is ruining it. He looks up at the reality warping, multi-dimensional entity of pure chaos. He doesn't see a god, a demon, or a cosmic horror. He sees a noisy pest. "Hey, you!" Saitama yells, cupping a hand around his mouth. "Could you keep it down? I'm trying to think here." The Lord of Change, a being that has orchestrated the fall of star systems, freezes. It has been addressed, not with prayers, not with curses, but with a complaint. Annoyance. This is an insult of a magnitude it cannot process. In a flash of pure, cosmic rage, it decides this anomaly doesn't need to be studied. It needs to be erased. It gathers all its power, drawing energy directly from the realm of chaos. The sky above Veus Magna becomes a swirling vortex of pure warp energy. The demon's form swells, its wings spanning the horizon. It's preparing a spell that could extinguish the planet's sun. A true display of the power of a god. Saitama Jasais. He was having a good day. "Okay, that's enough." He crouches slightly. He doesn't power up. There's no golden aura, no dramatic screaming. He just ... jumps. He moves so fast that the air doesn't even have time to displace. One moment he's on the ground, and the next, he's in front of the greater demon. The demon's many eyes widen in disbelief. It can see 1,000 futures, and in every single one of them, it is already dead. Saitama doesn't even use a serious punch. He doesn't need to. He just throws a casual, offhand punch, the kind you might use to knock on a door. The impact is ... silent. There's no explosion, no shockwave, no flash of light. Saitama's glove connects with the Lord of Change, and the demon simply ceases to be. It's not just that its physical form is destroyed. The punch doesn't just kill it. It unravels asterisk, the concept of the demon, its name, its history, its very essence in the warp, is erased. It's like a line of code being deleted from reality itself. The punch is so absolute, so definitive that it doesn't just remove the demon, it removes the fact that the demon was ever there. The effect on the surrounding warp is immediate and profound. The hole in reality torn open by the demon snaps shut, the swirling colors vanish, and the silence that follows is deeper than before. The psychic shockwave of that single, casual punch echoes back into the image. It doesn't just silence the region around Veus Mag. It sends a wave of absolute asterisk, nothingness, asterisk through the local warp. For days, even TZEE, NTCH himself can feel it. A patch of his own realm has just gone dark. It's not empty. It's null. An error in the grand equation of existence. Down on the ground, Saitama lands softly. He brushes his glove. Finally, he mutters to himself, some peace and quiet. He has no idea that he just permanently deleted one of the most powerful entities in the galaxy, or that he sent a shiver of pure, unadulterated fear through a chaos god. All he knows is that the annoying noise has stopped, and he can go home and see what's on TV. And that, my friends, is the terrifying, hilarious truth of Saitama. In Warhammer 4, his power isn't just physical, it's a conceptual weapon against the very nature of chaos. Chaos thrives on belief, emotion, and complexity. Saitama is a walking, talking embodiment of the opposite. He is simple. He is absolute, and in a universe powered by belief, his utter lack of it might be the most powerful weapon of all. What do you think? How would the other Chaos Gods react to this? Would they dare send their own champions after seeing what happened to Tzim? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This series is so much fun to make, and your ideas fuel it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this little thought experiment, please hit that like button, subscribe for more, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Weapon, heresy, or miracle which is more dangerous? On the throne world of Terra, this wasn't merely a philosophical question. It was the subject of the most contentious debate the High Lords had faced in centuries. The galaxy held its breath as transmissions, fragmented and laced with static, painted an impossible picture. A being, a phenomenon, a single individual who defied every law of the Imperium. The initial reports were dismissed as battlefield madness, the ravings of shell-shocked guardsmen. But the data streams kept coming, each one confirming the last. From grizzled commissars to stoic Astartes, captains, the message was the same. Something unprecedented had occurred. The whispers traveled through the astropathic choir, echoing in the cavernous halls of the Senatorum. The High Lords of Terra, masters of a million worlds, were to combined. In the Sanctum Imperialis, a chamber so grand its ceiling was a star chart of lost constellations. The 13 most powerful individuals in the Imperium gathered. The air, usually thick with the drone of servitors and the scent of ancient parchment, crackled with tension. At the heart of the storm was the Fabricator General of the Adeptus Mechanicus, his augmented form a grotesque yet awe-inspiring fusion of man and machine. His voice, a synthesized monotone that betrayed no emotion, was nonetheless chilling in its conviction. "This entity," he buzzed, his optical sensors glowing red, "represents a technological anomaly of the highest order. It defies our understanding of physics, of biology, of the Omnissiah's divine blueprint. It is a puzzle box of untold knowledge. We must acquire it. It must be brought to Mars for comprehensive analysis." He paused, letting the implication hang in the air. "Dissection," he clarified, the word dropping like a lead weight. "Every cog, every circuit, every biological filament must be catalogued. Its power is a deviation from the holy SDC templates. To understand it, we must deconstruct it, the potential for new weaponry, new technologies. It is limitless. It is our sacred duty to pry open this miracle and claim its secrets for the machine god." The desire was palpable not just for knowledge, but for control over a power they could not comprehend. Across the vast obsidian table, the ecclesiarch, robed in shimmering white and gold, slammed his jewel-encrusted staff. The sound echoed like a thunderclap. "Blasphemy! You speak of dissection as if this were some Xeno specimen. Have you no faith, Fabricator General? Have you not heard the testimonies?" He gestured to a floating hollow pulpit, where images of weeping pilgrims and kneeling soldiers flickered. "They call him a saint, a living miracle sent by the God Emperor in our darkest hour. He has turned back tides of demons with a gesture, healed the incurable, inspired hope where there was only despair. This is not a technological anomaly. This is divine intervention made manifest. The people see it. The faithful know it." His voice rose to a fanatical crescendo. "We must not defile what the Emperor has gifted us. We must canonize him, build shrines in his name, make his story a testament to the Emperor's eternal vigilance. He is a beacon of faith, a weapon against the darkness, more powerful than any fleet of battleships. To treat him as a mere machine is the highest form of heresy." Then, from the shadows, a third voice emerged, cold and sharp as a shard of ice. It was the Inquisitor Lord, his face a mask of scars and grim determination, the iconic rosette of his office pinned to his black coat. He had remained silent until now, observing, judging. "You are both fools," he stated, his words cutting through the heated rhetoric. "The Mechanicus sees a tool, the Ecclesiarchy sees a savior. You are blinded by your respective dogmas. I see only one thing, a threat." He stepped into the light, his presence commanding absolute attention. "A miracle," he scoffed. "How many times have we seen miracles that were the work of the ruinous powers? How many saints have turned out to be puppets for demonic incursions? This being wields power on a scale that rivals a Primarch. Where did this power come from? Why now? It is an unknown variable in the grand equation of galactic survival, and the Imperium cannot afford unknowns." He turned his gaze from the Fabricator General to the Ecclesia. "You would dissect him and risk unleashing something you cannot control. You would worship him and risk leading a billion souls into a trap laid by chaos. Both paths lead to damnation." The Inquisitor Lord's solution was as simple as it was terrifying. "It must be erased," he declared. "Not studied, not worshipped, eradicated. All records of its existence must be expunged, every witness silenced. Every planet it touched subjected to mind-screwing on a planetary scale. It must become a ghost, a rumor, a lie. The danger of its existence, whether as a weapon, a heretic, or a miracle, is too great a risk to the stability of the Imperium. The only safe heresy is one that never existed. The chamber fell silent once more. The three titanic factions of the Imperium locked in an ideological stalemate. The Adeptus Mechanicus, driven by an insatiable hunger for knowledge and technological supremacy. The Ecclesiarchy, fueled by fervent faith and the need for a symbol to unite them. And the Inquisition, guided by paranoid pragmatism and the cold, hard logic of survival at any cost. On Mars, tech priests prepared their stasis chambers and vivisection tools. Across the galaxy, missionaries began composing hymns for a new saint. And in hidden fortresses, assassins of the Officio Assassinorum polished their blades, awaiting a single command. The fate of this mysterious being, and perhaps the Imperium itself, hung in the balance, a prize to be claimed by the victor of this debate of terror. The question remained, in the grim darkness of the far future, what is truly the most dangerous thing? A new weapon, a new heresy, or a new hope? Thank you so much for watching. This is just one of the countless epic stories unfolding in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. If you enjoyed this dive into the heart of the Imperium, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more tales from the 41st millennium. Ever wondered what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable faith? Today, we're diving deep into a fan theory crossover that will blow your mind. What if Saitama, the One-Punch Man, crash-landed in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, right into the metallic arms of the Adeptus Mechanicus? Get ready, because the dogma of the machine god is about to face its ultimate test. Picture this. A lone, bald figure in a ridiculous yellow jumpsuit is discovered on a desolate forge world. The local tech priests, ever vigilant for lost technology and divine omens, cautiously approach. He looks human, but their augur scans go haywire. He's not radiating a psychic signature, so he's not a psyker. He's not showing signs of chaos corruption. He's an anomaly? Intrigued, a ranking Magos decides this warrants further study. They invite Saitama back to their research cloister, probably luring him with the promise of a rare and exotic food item. And Saitama, being Saitama, just shrugs and goes along with it, maybe hoping for a good sale on groceries. Inside the sterile, incense-choked laboratories of the Mechanicus, the real fun begins. Saitama, bored but cooperative, allows the Magi to run their tests. They draw blood, or try to. Their adamantium-tipped needles shatter against his skin. They attempt to scan his cellular structure, and the data that scrolls across their cogitator screens is nothing short of blasphemy. His cells, they don't decay. They show no signs of entropy, the universal constant of decay that the Mechanicus fights against every single day. His cells are perfect, self-sustaining, and eternal. Then, they measure his energy output. They hook him up to every Auspex and energy siphon they have. Saitama does a single, casual push-up. The reactors of the entire forge world flicker as the monitoring equipment overloads and melts into slag. The readouts, for the brief moment they existed, showed a spike of energy that could power a starship fleet for a century. The Magi are stunned into silence, their vocalizers emitting only static. Where does this power come from? There's no warp signature, no arcane rector, no fathomable power source. It's just ... him. His very existence is a violation of the known laws of physics and theology. This is where the schism begins. The data is undeniable. This biological entity, this Saitama, possesses qualities they have only ever attributed to the divine machine god. His body is a perfect machine, free from the weakness of the flesh. His power is limitless, a literal engine of infinite potential. He is, in essence, the living embodiment of a standard template construct, a perfect blueprint. Whispers turn to arguments in the data cant of the tech priests. The more radical, progressive Magi start to connect the dots. The Omnissiah, the physical manifestation of the machine god, was prophesied to walk among them, to bring knowledge and lead humanity into a new golden age. They look at Saitama. He's not mechanical, no. But he's not purely biological either. He is something, ... more. He is the ultimate expression of form and function, the perfect synthesis of strength and existence. A faction of magi makes a bold, heretical declaration. He is the Omnissiah made flesh. They see his simple nature not as idiocy, but as a divine purity, unburdened by the flawed logic of mortals. His incredible power isn't a fluke. It's a sign of his godhood. They begin to revere him, chanting litanies about the sacred fist of order and the bald Omnissiah. They try to offer him sacred machine, oils and blessed cybernetics, which he politely declines, asking if they have any kelp. Of course, this creates a massive uproar. The traditionalist, dogmatic tech priests are horrified. To them, this is the highest form of blasphemy. The Omnissiah is a being of pure logic, of chrome and steel, not this bold man who seems more concerned about missing a supermarket bargain than the fate of the galaxy. They declare Saitama a dangerous paradox, a genetic aberration, or perhaps even a subtle trick of the deceiver, a Khatan Necron god. They see the growing cult around him as a threat to the very stability of Mars and the Imperium itself. Imagine the scenes. One side of the temple is filled with magi prostrating themselves before Saitama, who's just trying to watch a pickcast on a date. On the other side, heavily armed skittery legions are being mobilized by a furious Archmagi, ready to decommission this false idol. The tension is thicker than Prometheum, the very creed of the cult Mechanicus. A faith that has held for 10,000 years is fracturing over a man who achieved ultimate power through a basic workout routine. And what does Saitama do in all this? He probably just wants to go home. He might accidentally punch a hole through a titan that was blocking his view, or vaporize an entire skittery legion with a single serious sneeze, further convincing his followers of his divinity and horrifying his detractors. He's not trying to be a god. He's just trying to find a worthy opponent and maybe some hot pot. But in the 41st millennium, his sheer, unadulterated power is a truth so profound, it cannot be ignored. It must be interpreted, and that interpretation could either lead to the Mechanicus' salvation or plunge it into a civil war that would make the Horus heresy look like a minor disagreement. The Mechanicus theorem is born, a being whose existence defies all logic, a living refutation of entropy. Is he a god? A monster? A statistical impossibility? The tech priests of Mars would debate it for millennia, their logic engines overheating in the process, all while the subject of their schism is probably wandering off, looking for the nearest noodle stand, completely oblivious to the religious crisis he has caused. He is the ultimate quest for knowledge and the ultimate dead end. A joke played on a galaxy that has forgotten how to laugh. What do you think would happen? Would the Mechanicus tear itself apart, or would they unite under the banner of the bold Omnissiah? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This crossover is just too much fun to think about. Thanks for tuning in and exploring this wild what-if with me today. If you enjoyed this dive into the grim darkness of the far future, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. In the grim darkness of the far future, there's only war. And on the war-torn world of Armageddon, amidst the swirling ash and the constant thunder of distant artillery, a scene of profound absurdity was about to unfold. Chaplain Grimaldus of the Black Templars stood before a being that defied every tenet of his faith, every law of physics he understood. The man was bald, clad in a garish yellow jumpsuit with a white cape and red gloves. He looked utterly unremarkable. "I am Chaplain Grimaldis of the Eternal Crusade," he announced, his voice a gravelly echo amplified by his skull-faced helmet's vox grill. His Crozius Arcanum, a holy symbol and a power weapon of immense destructive potential, pulsed with a low blue hum. "You have been observed. You exhibit power beyond the ken of mortal men. Such strength is either a blessing from the God Emperor or the insidious trick of the arch-enemy. Explain yourself, stranger. What god do you serve?" The bold man, who had been idly picking at something on his glove, looked up. "Oh, hi, name's Saitama. I'm a hero for fun." He blinked. "Gosh, nope, don't serve any. Just do this as a hobby. Say, is there a grocery store around here? I'm running low on kombu for my hot pot. Grimaldus froze. The sheer, unadulterated mundanity of the response was more jarring than any blasphemous tirade. Hobby, grocery store. He had expected defiance, heretical pride, perhaps even demonic shrieking. He had not expected a request for soup ingredients. This is no time for Jessus heretic, Grimaldus roared, taking a step forward. The ground trembled slightly under his ceramite boots. Your power is an affront to the established order of the galaxy. It is a warp-spawned anomaly that must be explained, sanctified, or purged. Confess your allegiance. Do you traffic with the ruinous powers? Sench, Nurgo, Corne. Saitama scratched his bald head. Hesundate. Look, I don't know any of those guys. I just did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run every single day for 3 years. Then my hair fell out and I got super strong. That's pretty much it. Silence. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Around them, other Black Templars, massive super soldiers in black power armor, had gathered. They stood motionless, their bolters held at the ready, listening to this. This madness. The chaplain's training, his psycho-conditioning, his millennia of dogma, had no protocol for this. That is the most profound heresy I've ever heard, Grimaldus finally managed to say, his voice laced with utter disbelief. You mock the holy struggle of mankind with this calisthenics regimen. He felt a surge of righteous fury. Faith must explain the inexplicable, or it must burn it. Your existence is a logical paradox, a blasphemy in physical form. Prepare to be judged by the Emperor's divine wrath. He raised his Crozius Arcanum, its power field flaring to life, ready to deliver a blow that could shatter Plasteel. Saitama looked at the glowing mace, then back at the chaplain. His expression didn't change. It remained one of mild boredom. Okay, he said, just as Grimaldus was about to bring the weapon down. A deafening roar tore through the air. It was a guttural, bloodthirsty sound that every Imperial soldier knew and loathed. From over the ridge of a blasted crater, a green tide crested the horizon. Orcs. Hundreds of them. A clanking, roaring horde of hulking brutes, armed with crude choppas and shutas, their red-painted war machines belching black smoke. An ambush orcs. Contact. A sword, brother, bellowed. Immediately, the disciplined Templars formed a firing line, their bolters erupting in a deafening staccato of thunder. Explosive shells tore into the front ranks of the orc charge, turning green bodies into red mist, but the horde was endless. They came on, screaming wog, a living avalanche of violence and death. Grimaldus, his duty as a warrior overriding his duty as an inquisitor for the moment, turned to face the greater threat. For the Emperor and Dorn, he roared, charging towards the green tide, his Crozius ready to crush orc skulls. The battle was joined. Ceramite meth crude, iron chainswords, word and bit into green flesh. The air filled with the stench of promethium, blood, and the foul odor of the greenskins. The Templars fought with the zeal of fanatics, each a demigod of war, but they were outnumbered 50-1. A massive orc warboss, clad in scavenged armor plates and wielding a power claw the size of a man, smashed the space marines aside with contemptuous ease. The line was beginning to buckle. Grimaldus found himself locked in combat with a hulking knob, pairing a massive axe swing with his Crozius. He saw the warboss bearing down on his flank and knew, with a grim certainty, that this would be a glorious but final last stand. Then, something zipped past him. It was a red and yellow blur. Saitama had been standing there, watching, with the same placid expression. He'd seen the big one with the giant metal claw about to hit the loud guy in the skull helmet. Oh, that's not good, he mumbled to himself. He appeared directly in the path of the charging warboss. The monstrous creature, 10 feet of muscle and rage, didn't even see him. It swung its power claw in a devastating arc, meant to atomize the chaplain. Saitama raised a single, gloved fist. Okay? The fist connected with the warboss's chest. There was no thunderous crack. no explosion. There was only a soft, almost wet sump asterisk. And then the WARBOSS ... ceased to be. The upper half of the creature simply vanished in a shower of green mist and shattered metal, as if it had been deleted from reality. The shockwave from the impact, however, was anything but subtle. It blasted outwards in a silent, invisible cone. The entire orc horde behind the war boss, hundreds of charging boys, grots, even a half-finished Killa Ken was obliterated. They were not thrown back. They were disintegrated, scoured from the face of the planet in an instant. The very ground they had stood upon was vaporized, leaving a perfectly smooth, glassy crater stretching for nearly a mile. The sudden, absolute silence was more shocking than the battle itself. The remaining Black Templars, maybe a dozen strong, slowly lowered their weapons. They stared, their helmet lenses unable to process the scale of the devastation. They looked at the new, perfectly formed crater. They looked at the spot where an army had been just a second ago. And then they all looked at the bald man in the yellow suit. Saitama lowered his fist, a faint wisp of steam rising from his knuckles. He blew on them gently. "Man, these guys are noisy." He turned back to Chaplain Grimaldus, who was standing frozen, his Crozius held limply at his side. The skull-faced helmet did an admirable job of hiding his expression, but the sheer stillness of the giant warrior spoke volumes. "Anyway," Saitama said, his tone as casual as if he were asking for directions at a mall. "You were saying something about judging me? That can wait. Seriously, I'm getting hungry. So, about that grocery store, you know where I can find one? I'm looking for a weekend sale on beef." Chaplain Grimaldus stared. He looked at the man. He looked at the mile-long crater of glass, where an orc wog had been. He looked back at the man. All the fury, all the dogma, all the righteous zealotry drained out of him, replaced by a single, profound, and deeply unsettling thought that echoed in the deepest recesses of his soul. "By the throne, ... what asterisk? Are asterisk you?" Saitama just shrugged. "I told you, I'm a hero for fun." He glanced around at the desolate, war-torn landscape. "Though, this place doesn't seem very fun at all, and the shopping options are terrible." For the first time in his centuries of service, Chaplain Grimaldus of the Black Templars, the reclusiarch of Hell's Reach, had absolutely nothing to say. Faith could not explain this, and he was fairly certain, with a dawning horror, that it couldn't burn it either. Thank you so much for watching this little crossover story. If you enjoy this mashup of grimdark faith and heroic apathy, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe for more tailies from across the multiverse. Let us know in the comments what other crazy crossovers you'd love to see. Something is stirring in the warp. A ripple, unlike any before it, spreads through the sea of souls. It's not the crash of a newly birthed god, nor the psychic scream of a dying race. It's quiet, a profound, deafening silence that chills the very essence of chaos. On battlefields across the galaxy, demons suddenly recoil. Pink horrors giggle with uncertainty, their kaleidoscopic forms flickering. Bloodletters pause, their brass swords feeling heavy for the first time. The chattering plagues of Nurgle's garden fall silent, and the whispers of Slanesh. Isichosen, Sisa. Something has entered their realm that does not belong. Something that breaks all the rules of existence. Deep within the swirling madness of the Imperium, for great and terrible consciousnesses turn their gaze. Khorne, the blood god, feels not rage, but a frustrating absence of it. He looks upon this anomaly, this human, and sees no desire for skulls, no thirst for blood. There is no anger to fuel, no warrior's pride to twist into berserker fury. Saitama, the man in the bright yellow suit, represents a martial perfection so absolute that it requires no emotion, no driving hatred. To Khorne, he is an insult to blank page where an epic of slaughter should be written. The Lord of Skulls roars in frustration, for how can you corrupt a warrior who finds no joy in the fight, only a quiet, gnawing boredom? Nurgle, the grandfather of pestilence, extends a curious, deculling end. He sees a being of flesh and blood, a mortal form, and yet it is untouched. No disease can find purchase on Saitama's skin. No despair can cloud his mind. Saitama's apathy is not the soul-crushing nihilism Nurgle so loves to cultivate. It's a simple, uncomplicated boredom born from unmatched strength. Nurgle's most potent plagues, his most soul-withering depressions, simply slide off Saitama like water off a duck's back. He is a bastion of perfect health, not through faith or purity, but through sheer physical and mental resilience. Grandfather Nurgle, for the first time in an eternity, has found a subject upon whom his gifts have no effect. It is not defiance. It is simply Then comes Slaanesh, the prince of pleasure and pain. The Dark Prince gazes upon Saitama and is met with a void. Saitama desires nothing. He has no ambition for power, no lust for sensation, no pride in his appearance or abilities. The greatest temptation Slaanesh could offer unlimited fame, adoring followers. The most exquisite sensations imaginable would likely be met with a flat okay. Saitama's desires are comically mundane, making it to a supermarket sale on time, finding a good dipping sauce for his fries. These are desires so simple, so pure, that they offer no hook for corruption. Slaanesh, the master of excess, is utterly baffled by a creature defined by his complete lack of excess. He is the ultimate ascetic, not by choice or discipline, but by his very nature. And finally, Tzinch, the changer of ways, the architect of fate, leans in. This is a puzzle that demands his attention. A being with no ambition, no desire for knowledge, power, or change. A creature whose destiny is a flat line of invincibility. This cannot be. Tzinch, who sees and manipulates the infinite branching paths of fate, looks at Saitama and sees nothing. Nothing. A single, unwavering thread that cannot be cut, cannot be redirected, cannot be woven into any grand tapestry. A minuscule fragment of Zinji's own consciousness, a sliver of the God-mind itself, reaches out. It seeks to understand, to probe the mind of this anomaly. It expects to find a hidden desire, a secret weakness, a flicker of pride, or a seed of despair. Instead, it finds a quiet mind, perhaps wondering what's for dinner. It encounters a will not forged in defiance, but simply present, unyielding, uncomplicated. The god of schemes and plots pushes against Saitama's soul and finds no give, no entry point. It's like trying to carve a message into a diamond with a feather. The fragment of Tzinch recoils, not in pain, but in utter, complete failure. For the first time, Tzinch has encountered a being he cannot comprehend, cannot manipulate, and cannot change. The god of infinite possibilities has met the man of one punch, and the equation breaks. In the heart of the warp, the four great powers reach a silent, terrifying consensus. This creature, this Saitama, is not a new player in their great game. He's not a piece to be captured, nor is he a rival king to be overthrown. He's not prey, for he cannot be consumed. He is not a predator, for he does not hunt. He is something far, far worse. He is an anomaly, a null value in the grand equation of chaos. A force of nature so absolute that it negates their own. His very existence is a quiet refutation of everything they are. In the screaming madness of the warp, the Chaos Gods feel a new sensation, one they have not known for eons. It is a cold, creeping dread. The gods are afraid of him. T. singular bald man in a cape represents a power greater than faith, greater than rage, greater than desire, greater than hope. It is the power of the absolute, the mundane made divine through sheer, incomprehensible strength. And as he wanders through the 41st millennium, looking for a worthy opponent, and perhaps a good grocery deal, the most powerful beings in the galaxy can only watch and wonder what happens when an unstoppable force meets, well, everything, and finds it all profoundly lacking. Thank you so much for joining me on this thought experiment. What do you think would happen if Saitama truly entered the 4OK universe? Let me know your wildest theories down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into the weird and wonderful, be sure to punch that like button and subscribe for more lore explorations. Welcome, bike lore masters and universe hoppers. Today, we're diving deep into a what-if scenario that bends the very fabric of reality. We've seen Saitama, the one-punch man, accidentally punch his way into the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. But what if his arrival didn't just cause a ripple, but a tidal wave that attracted something far older and more terrifying than anything the galaxy has ever known? Imagine this. Saitama's entry into the Warhammer universe wasn't silent. It was a cosmic boom, a flash of dimensional energy so potent it tore a wound in reality itself. This energy didn't just go unnoticed. It acted as a beacon, a signal flare cutting through the void, and something answered the call. From the unimaginable gulfs between realities, a being of immense, unknowable power stirs. It has no name we can comprehend, no form we can truly perceive. The wisest and most terrified scholars of the Ordo Xenos have simply labeled it the collector entity. This is not a creature of the Imperium or the Imit. It exists outside, beyond. Its very essence is the observation and acquisition of unique phenomena across the multiverse. And in Saitama, it has found the ultimate anomaly. The script from a lost data slate puts it best. It followed him across realities, and it learned. Every punch Saitama threw in his own world, every impossible feat of strength, was a note in a symphony of power that the collector entity has been listening to for eons. Now, the symphony has arrived in a new concert hall, and the collector wants a front row seat. As this being begins to manifest, its presence warps the very laws of physics. Gravity fluctuates wildly in nearby systems. Stars flicker and die, their light consumed not by hunger, but by sheer curiosity. The initial astropathic warnings are dismissed as warp storms or mass hysteria. How could they be anything else? The descriptions are impossible. A living shadow that blots out entire constellations, a geometric shape that is both everywhere and nowhere at once, a silence so profound it deafens. The first to truly grasp the scale of the threat is the Imperium of man, but even they get it wrong. The Adeptus Mechanicus, with their arcane sensors and data, detect an energy signature that mirrors the most terrifying legends in their archives. They see a being of pure energy, encased in a shifting, living metal form. Their conclusion is immediate and horrifying. Akatan, one of the ancient star gods, has returned. They believe it to be a long-lost brother to the Deceiver or the Nightbringer, a god of cosmic hunger awakened from its eternal slumber. The panic is instantaneous. Legions of Skittery are mobilized, and the cry goes out for the might of the Titan legions. Simultaneously, the secretive Ordo Xenos receives the same terrifying data. Their inquisitors, however, reach a different, even more chilling conclusion. This is no the energy signature is wrong. 2 alia, 2 ... Asterisk other asterisk. It doesn't belong to this dimension. They see its influence spreading, not with malice, but with an unnerving sense of purpose. It isn't destroying planets out of hunger. It seems to be studying them, cataloging them, before they simply cease to be. The Ordo Xenos declares a threat level beyond anything seen since the Horus Heresy. This isn't a mere alien invasion. This is an extinction-level event of cosmic proportions. The order is given, but a chilling question hangs in the air. How do you kill something that may not even be alive? The collector entity pays no mind to the fleets gathering against it. The frantic preparations of the Imperium are like ants building a fortress in the path of a glacier. Its focus is singular. It has tracked its prize across the dimensional sea, and it can feel him. It can feel the source of that beautiful, impossible power. It can feel Saitama. The entity's arrival isn't an invasion. It's a collection trip, and Saitama, the man who is a hero for fun, has just become the most sought-after exhibit in the multiverse. As the Imperium's fleets prepare for a battle they cannot possibly win, and the Ordo Xenos debates the futility of their ultimate sanction, the collector entity continues its slow, inexorable advance. It learns the rules of this new reality, absorbing information at a rate that would shatter the mind of any mortal. It learns of chaos, of the Necrons, of the Tyranids. To it, they are all just interesting footnotes in the Codex entry for this particular universe. They are the flora and fauna surrounding its true target. The stage is set for a confrontation that will dwarf any war this galaxy has ever seen. Not a war for territory or faith, but a clash between the absolute and the unknowable. On one side, a being whose hobby is collecting unique realities. On the other, a man whose hobby is being a hero. The cosmic horror has arrived, drawn by the ultimate power. And the grim darkness of the 41st millennium is about to get a whole lot darker. What happens when the unstoppable force meets the ultimate anomaly? The Collector is about to find out, and the galaxy will be the collateral damage. This is where our story takes a truly epic turn. The arrival of the Collector entity changes everything. It's no longer about Saitama versus the factions of 40K. No, it is about whether this universe can even survive being the playground for two beings of such impossible power. What do you think will happen next? Can the combined might of the Imperium, Chaos, and the Xenos races even scratch the Collector entity? Or will they be forced into an unthinkable alliance with Saitama himself? Let me know your theories in the comments below. I read every single one, and your ideas are always fantastic. Thanks so much for joining me on this cosmic horror journey. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the lore, be sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this epic saga. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're diving into a cosmic showdown of epic proportions. A clash of titans that will shake the very foundations of reality. Get ready for Chapter 10. The Battle of Infinite Mass. Imagine this. High in the silent orbit of Veus Magna, a world teetering on the brink. Two forces of impossible power are about to collide. On one side, we have the Collector entity, a being of unimaginable cosmic horror. Its form a swirling vortex of captured souls and stolen realities, protected by void shields that shimmer with the energy of dying stars. And on the other, a simple man, bold and unassuming, clad in a yellow jumpsuit. Saitama, the hero for fun. The stage is set. The Collector entity, a creature that has consumed entire civilizations, sees Saitama as just another specimen for its collection. It unleashes a psychic barrage, a wave of pure terror and despair meant to shatter the minds of gods. But it washes over Saitama like a gentle breeze. He just floats there, a bored expression on his face, perhaps wondering if he'll make it back for the supermarket sale. "Are you done?" he asks, his voice echoing in the non-existent air. A paradox in itself. The Collector entity, for the first time in millennia, feels something akin to confusion. It manifests a dozen arms, each wielding a weapon forged from a black hole's singularity, and strikes. The void shields of its fleet, powerful enough to withstand the fury of a supernova, crackle and strain under the sheer force of its attack. But Saitama, he just raises a single hand, not a punch. Not yet. Just a casual block. The moment the singularity weapons connect with his glove, reality itself screams. A shockwave, silent but utterly devastating, ripples through space-time. Gravity around Veus Magna warps violently. Asteroids the size of moons are pulverized into fine dust. The void shields around the Collector's armada don't just break. They cease to exist, erased from reality, as if they were never there. Across 10 sectors of the galaxy, the change is felt. In the chaotic dimension of the warp, demons shriek in agony. The psychic backlash is so immense, so pure, that it acts like a cleansing fire in the image. Psychas on 100 different worlds clutch their heads, not in pain from the usual chaotic whispers, but from the sudden, overwhelming silence. It's a silence more terrifying than any scream. Back in orbit, the Collector entity is staggered. It cannot comprehend the power it's facing. This is not a warrior. This is not a god. This is an absolute. It's a violation of every known law of physics and metaphysics. It's like trying to punch a hole in the concept of mathematics itself. Saitama cocks his head. My turn. He pulls back his fist. It's not a flashy move. There's no energy charging. No dramatic power-up sequence. It's just a punch. But as his glove travels forward, space itself begins to unravel. The light from distant stars bends around his fist, creating a halo of distorted reality. He's not moving through space. He's pushing space out of his way. This is the moment. The normal punch. The impact is an event that defies description. It's not an explosion. It's a deletion. The collector entity, its fleet, its very essence, is struck by a force that is, for all intents and purposes, infinite. There is no sound, no flash of light, just a perfect, circular void where the entity used to be. A hole punched not just in the fabric of space, but in the narrative of the universe. And far, far away, on the golden throne of Terra, a flicker of consciousness stares. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Emperor of Mankind, a being of unparalleled psychic might, opens a sliver of his awareness. He doesn't see the punch. He doesn't see Saitama. He feels it. He feels the impossible equation that has just been solved. He feels the echo of a power that dwarfs even his own, a power so absolute it could erase the chaos gods with a single, bored gesture. He senses a reality where the grim darkness of the far future might just have met its most absurd, and perhaps most final, answer. Through the turbulent currents of the warp, a single, clear thought emanates from the master of mankind. A thought of pure, unadulterated awe. He has witnessed a force that bends reality not through psychic will or dark pacts, but through sheer, overwhelming physical presence. Back above Veus Magna, Saitama floats alone in the new, silent void. He looks at his steaming glove, a faint wisp of smoke curling from his knuckle. He lets out a small sigh. Another one-punch finish. He turns, looking back toward the planet below, his mind already drifting to what's for dinner. He is completely unaware that his simple act of heroism has sent shockwaves through dimensions and caught the attention of the most powerful being in the galaxy. The battle of infinite mass is over, but for the Warhammer 40,000 universe, the questions have only just begun. What do you do when the impossible meets the absurd? You witness reality bend, and you pray you're not standing in the way. What an incredible chapter. The implications of this single punch are staggering. What do you think the Emperor will do with this knowledge? And how will the forces of chaos react to this new, incomprehensible power in the galaxy? Let me know all your theories down in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me on this cosmic journey today. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. In the heart of the Imperium, upon the golden throne, a flicker of consciousness stirs. For 10,000 years, the Emperor of Mankind has been a silent sentinel, a psychic lighthouse against the encroaching darkness. His mind, a universe of thought and power, touches every corner of the galaxy, perceiving threats, guiding his legions, and holding back the tides of chaos. But today, for the first time in millennia, his gaze is arrested by something utterly new. It is not a demon, nor a Xenos fleet, nor a heretic's prayer. It is nothing and everything. Through a psychic conduit, a fleeting connection across dimensions, the Emperor's mind brushes against a singular, inexplicable existence. A Caesarman, a simple man, bald, and a garish yellow and red suit. He is on some forgotten world, a place of little consequence. Yet the psychic echo he leaves is louder than a supernova. The master of mankind, who can read the souls of trillions, who can see the intricate tapestry of fate and history, sees this man and understands nothing. He reaches out with his psychic senses, probing for the familiar taint of the warp. There is none. No touch of Korn's rage, no whisper of Tzinch's schemes, no scent of Nurgle's decay, no hint of Slanesh's temptations. The man is impossibly, perfectly clean, a soul untouched by the corrupting influence that permeates the very fabric of reality. This, in itself, is a miracle beyond comprehension. How can anything exist within this galaxy and not bear the psychic scars of its horrors? The Emperor then searches for faith, the bedrock upon which his Imperium is built. He looks for the fervent devotion that fuels his saints and empowers his cause. He finds only a calm, almost bored, emptiness. There is no prayer on this man's lips, no reverence in his heart. He does not worship the Emperor, the Chaos Gods, or anything at all. He's simply Ise. This lack of faith is not heresy. It is an absence so profound it defies the very laws of spiritual gravity that govern the galaxy. Without faith, what drives a man? What gives him purpose? And then the Emperor sees it. The thing that sends a tremor through his 10th sound-year vigil. He looks for purpose, for ambition, for the grand designs that motivate gods and mortals alike. He finds none of that. Instead, he perceives a wellspring of potential, not the structured, disciplined power of a psyker, nor the engineered might of a space marine. It is something else. Entirely, it is a raw, untamed, infinite reservoir of physical capability. So vast it seems to have no ceiling. It is potential without direction, power without intent. Imagine a star, burning with the energy of 1 billion suns, but with no planets too warm, no system to hold it. It simply shines, its power an end unto itself. That is what the Emperor sees in this man, Saitama. A being of limitless strength, whose only struggle seems to be finding a worthy challenge. He is an equation without a solution, a force of nature that obeys no known physical or metaphysical laws. He is not a product of the warp, nor a creation of ancient technology. He appears to be just a man who, through some mundane, almost laughable effort, shattered every conceivable limit. The Emperor cannot comprehend him. Agatha, for that is what he has become, looks upon a mortal and is baffled. This man is a walking paradox, an anomaly that could unravel everything the Emperor has fought to protect. He is a piece on the board that belongs to no player, a wild card in a game where the stakes are the survival of humanity itself. Is a weapon, a savior, or is he the ultimate, accidental threat? A force so powerful that his very existence could shatter the delicate balance of the galaxy without even meaning to. In that fleeting moment of connection, a silent command echoes forth from the Golden Throne. It ripples through the minds of the High Lords of Terra. It reaches the gold-clad custodians guarding his sanctum. It travels across the void to the commanders of the Indomitus Crusade. The message is simple, yet heavy with unspoken urgency. Find this individual, the one they call Saitama. The order is not to engage. It is not to destroy. It is to protect. Protect him from the forces of chaos who would seek to corrupt him. Protect him from the Xenos who would try to exploit or eliminate him. Protect him from the zealous factions of the Imperium itself, who would see his power as a threat or a blasphemy. He is to be shielded, observed, and studied. The might of the Imperium is to be a bulwark around this enigma. But there is a second part to the command, a quiet addendum that chills the very souls of those who receive it. Protect him, and prepare. Prepare for what follows. The Emperor, in his incalculable wisdom, knows that a power like this cannot remain a secret forever. It cannot remain idle. Sooner or later, this untamed potential will be unleashed upon the galaxy, and when that day comes, the Imperium of Man must be ready. Ready to stand with him, or ready to face him. The galaxy has known primarchs, saints, and heroes. It has faced demons, monsters, and gods, but it has never faced anything like a man who is a hero for fun. The Emperor has seen the storm of chaos, the menace of the Tyranids, the rise of the Necrons. But now, he has glimpsed a new variable, a power that plays by no rules but its own. And for the first time in an age, the master of mankind feels a flicker of something he has not felt since the darkest days of the heresy. A profound and chilling uncertainty. The game has changed, and a new, unpredictable player has just been dealt into the hand. Terra must prepare. For what follows, Saitama will reshape the fate of the galaxy forever. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think would happen when the forces of the Imperium finally meet Saitama? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the grim darkness of the far future, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Greetings, lore masters and anime aficionados, and welcome back to our epic crossover saga. We are diving deep into Chapter 12, the portal of a return, where the grim darkness of the far future collides with the overwhelming power of the Caped Boldy. If you've been following along, you know Saitama has been trapped in the Warhammer 40k universe, a place that makes Zizity look like a peaceful paradise. He's faced down orcs, stared into the abyss of chaos, and generally been unimpressed by everything this brutal galaxy has thrown at him. But today, everything changes. For weeks, we've seen the Imperium of man grapple with an anomaly they call the Collector Entity, a being of immense psionic power. It has been a phantom, a whisper in the warp, a threat that even the mightiest chapters of Space Marines couldn't pin down. They saw it as a harbinger of doom, a cosmic horror that defied their understanding of reality. To the Adeptus Mechanicus, it was a data wraith of unparalleled complexity. To the Inquisition, a Xenos threat of the highest order. They prepared fleets, mobilized armies, and chanted litanies, bracing for a war that could consume entire sectors. They prepared for a catastrophe, and a catastrophe is exactly what they got, just not the one they were expecting. Because for Saitama, the Collector Entity was just another Tuesday, another monster of the week, albeit a slightly more dementurally wobbly one. He found it, he faced it, and with a single, devastatingly casual punch, he obliterated it. Serious punch. The name doesn't even begin to do it justice. The impact didn't just shatter the entity. It shattered the very fabric of space. Imagine ripping a hole in a piece of paper. Now imagine that paper is reality itself. The energies unleashed were biblical. A storm of raw chaos and order colliding with the force of 1,000 supernovas. From the observation decks of Imperial cruisers, the tech priests and astropaths watched in stunned silence. Their ogres went haywire. Their psionic choirs screamed and then fell silent. Where the Collector Entity once was, there now hung a shimmering, stable tear in the universe. It wasn't the jagged, malevolent wound of a typical warp storm. No, this was different. It was structured, clean, a perfect circle of swirling nebulae and starlight that didn't belong to their galaxy. It was a bridge, a gateway. The Mechanicus Magi, their optical sensors worry, immediately classified it as a miracle, a gift from the Omnissiah, a stable passage through the unpredictable hell of the warp. They saw a new era of interstellar travel, a way to bypass the demonic horrors that plagued every journey. They saw a strategic asset beyond their wildest dreams, a divine intervention that could turn the tide in their eternal war. They saw salvation. But down on the barren moon where the fight took place, floating in the silent vacuum amidst the dissipating dust of the Collector Entity, Saitama saw something else entirely. He wasn't looking at it with the cold logic of a tech priest or the zealous fervor of an inquisitor. He was just a guy who's been lost for a very, very long time. A guy who misses his tiny apartment, his student Genos, and most importantly, the weekend supermarket sales. As he stared into the swirling vortex, he didn't see a strategic asset or a divine miracle. He saw something familiar, a glimmer of a world that wasn't constantly on fire, a universe that wasn't trying to kill and corrupt him every second of the day. He saw a way back. For the first time since he arrived in this grim, dark future, a flicker of genuine emotion crossed Saitama's face. Not boredom, not mild annoyance, but hope. The quote for this chapter says it all. The way home lies in catastrophe. Saitama's entire existence is a catastrophe for his enemies. But at this time, the fallout from his overwhelming power didn't just solve a problem. It created an opportunity, a portal of return. While the entire Imperium mobilizes to study, sanctify, and weaponize this newfound warp bridge, Saitama has a much simpler plan. He's just going to walk through it. But can it really be that simple? This is Warhammer 40k, after all. And this is a doorway between universes, a concept that bends the minds of even the most brilliant Imperial scientists. What happens when the hero for fun tries to take a casual stroll through a dimensional rupture? Will the Imperium let their miracle just walk away? What lies on the other side? Is it truly home, or is it another, even stranger reality? The possibilities are as infinite as the multiverse itself. One thing is for certain. Saitama is heading for that portal. And woe betide anyone, human, Xenos, or God, who dares to stand in his way. He's finally found a purpose in this universe, to leave it, and he's about to punch his ticket home. This sets the stage for an incredible clash of interests. The Imperium, desperate to control this gateway, versus Saitama, who won't care less about their galactic wars and just wants to get back for a hot pot dinner. The sheer culture clash is about to reach its peak. Imagine a squadron of Grey Knights teleporting in, ready to consecrate the Holy Gate, only to find a bald guy in a cape and yellow jumpsuit trying to step through it. The confusion, the accusations of heresy, the absolute bewilderment on their faces. It's going to be glorious. What do you think will happen next? Will the Imperium try to fight Saitama for control of the gate? Can they even slow him down? And what will Genos and the Hero Association think when Saitama just casually reappears out of a cosmic tear in the sky? Let me know all your theories and predictions down in the comments below. This story is just getting crazier, and I'm all here for it. Thank you so much for joining me on this multiversal journey today. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see what happens when Saitama takes his first step home, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Saitama stepped through the swirling vortex, the portal shimmering and then collapsing behind him, leaving the grim darkness of the 41st millennium just a little bit quieter than he found it. The man who could end any fight with a single punch was gone, returned to his own dimension of heroes, monsters, and supermarket sales. But in the galaxy he left behind, something had changed. His departure was not an ending, but a new, unspoken beginning. The sheer, unadulterated power he wielded, a force that defied the very laws of physics and the warp itself, hadn't just vanished. It had left echoes, ripples in the fabric of reality. Imagine, if you will, the vast and turbulent ocean of the warp. Saitama's presence was like a colossal meteor strike, sending out tidal waves of pure, uncorrupted energy. These were not the chaotic energies of the ruinous powers, nor the psychic emanations of humanity. This was something else entirely. Something simple. And these echoes, these fragments of his essence, began to settle, to find purchase in the most unexpected of places. Across the sprawling, embattled Imperium of man, subtle miracles began to occur. On a forgotten shrined world, Alivin-san, her faith faltering under the unending tide of a greenskin invasion, suddenly felt a surge of inexplicable strength. It wasn't the Emperor's light she felt, not in the way she had always known it. It was a feeling of absolute, almost casual confidence, a conviction that the impossible was, in fact, quite manageable. Her power glaive swung with a force that shattered not just orc baddies, but the very warg, energy that fueled them, leaving the greenskins bewildered and broken. She didn't understand the source of this power, but she accepted it as a gift, a new facet of the Emperor's divine will. Elsewhere, deep within the forges of a Mechanicus Forge world, a venerable tech priest was overseeing the final rites of activation for a new class of battle servitor. The machine spirits were proving stubborn, the cogitators spitting out error runes. The project was on the brink of failure. Then, a stray warp echo, a sliver of Saitama's, it'll probably be fine attitude, brushed against the machine's core logic engine. Suddenly, the servitor systems stabilized. More than that, they optimized themselves in ways that tech priests couldn't comprehend. Its combat protocols became brutally, beautifully efficient. It moved with a devastating economy of motion, each strike delivered with just enough force to achieve total annihilation, and not an ounce more. The machine spirit wasn't just placated, it was content. These weren't isolated incidents. A lemon rust tank, its engine shot to scrap, roared back to life with a single, frustrated smack from its commander's fist. A squad of guardsmen, hopelessly outnumbered, found their lasguns firing with a concussive force that staggered Chaos Space Marines. An astropath, lost in the chaotic currents of the warp, found a sudden, quiet path back to sanity, a moment of profound clarity in the madness. The galaxy was still a hellscape of eternal war. But now, there were tiny, inexplicable sparks of hope, like embers glowing in the dark. These were the echoes of the bald hero, the light that remained. And what of the Imperium's most secretive and powerful organization? The Inquisition, of course, had been watching. They had witnessed Saitama's arrival, his effortless dispatching of threats that had cost them entire armies, and his baffling departure. They ran every calculation, consulted every forbidden text, and interrogated every psyker who had felt his presence. Their conclusion was both terrifying and electrifying. This entity was not of the warp, not of the Imperium as they knew it. He was an anomaly, a force of nature that defied categorization. Lord Inquisitor Helena Var, a woman whose face was a mask of ancient scars and cold logic, convened a secret conclave on Terra itself, in a vault sealed by stasis, fields, and psychoreactive wards. Far beneath the gaze of the Golden Throne, they compiled their findings. They couldn't explain him, and that which they couldn't explain, they feared. But they also couldn't deny the effect he'd had. He had, in his brief, absurd tenure, done more to push back the darkness than entire crusades. They couldn't record his name. Saitama meant nothing in High Gothic. His description was equally useless. A man of average height, bold, wearing a ridiculous yellow and red uniform. It sounded like a jester, not a savior. But they had to create a record, a contingency for a future they knew would only grow darker. They needed a prophecy. So, in a tome bound in the height of a creature that had never known the light of a sun, Inquisitor Var took up a quill dipped in amnine fluid. With meticulous care, she began to write, her script sharp and precise. She described not the man, but the outcome, the absolute, undeniable finality he brought. She wrote of a power that transcended faith, technology, and mutation. A power that was simply power. And so the Ordo Saitama was born in the deepest shadows of the Imperium, a secret order within the Inquisition, tasked with a single, monumental duty: to study the echoes he left behind, and to watch the stars. They would search for signs, for portents that mirrored the conditions of his first arrival. Foretake now, with a certainty that bordered on faith, that a force this potent could not appear only once. The final lines of their founding document, the prophecy that would be their guiding star, were simple, yet carried the weight of 1,000 worlds. It became their secret creed, whispered only in the most secure of vaults. When the endless tide of the Tyranid threatens to consume the galaxy whole, when the Necron dynasties awaken in their totality, when the Eye of Terror expands to swallow Holy Terror itself, and when the stars themselves cry out for salvation against a threat beyond reckoning, the Bald One shall return. He had left the galaxy quieter than he found it, but the Imperium now held a new, secret hope. A belief that when all other defenses failed, when the Emperor's light seemed to be extinguished forever, their ultimate weapon wasn't a fleet or an army, but a simple man in a cape who was a hero for fun. The prophecy was written, the watch had begun, and across the countless worlds of the Imperium, the light that remained continued to shine, a quiet testament to the hero who had, for a short time, made the grim darkness a little less grim. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible crossover journey from beginning to end. It's been amazing exploring what would happen if Saitama landed in the 40K universe. If you enjoyed this finale and the entire series, please hit that like button and subscribe for more epic what-if scenarios. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this ending and what crossover you'd love to see next.